Have you ever wondered how one night you seem to be peaceful can turn into a real action movie in a matter of seconds? Think of the scene. In a house, the common, the silence is predominant, and all of a sudden a strange noise breaks through the stillness. Maybe it's the sound of hurried footsteps, the sound of a door opening, or even a muffled scream. At that time, everything changed dramatically, and what appeared to be a normal night becomes a scene of tension. Have you ever gone through something like that? This feeling of insecurity, powerlessness in the face of danger, and it's something that no one wants to experience. But sometimes the reality comes as no surprise in a brutal manner. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out right now might surprise you. A true story of courage, loyalty, and protection that goes above and beyond what many can imagine. Picture the scene. A family is asleep. Or maybe you're watching TV when all of a sudden the front door is kicked in. One armed man appears at the door and threatening everyone in the house. The fear sets in instantly. To the silence gives way to a state of panic. Members of the family, if you feel completely vulnerable, not knowing what to do in the face of a threat as serious as this. At that moment, the feeling of helplessness is almost unbearable. The criminal with a gun in hand, he demands the money, valuables, and keep all of it under tension. It's a moment of despair or confusion, whereas the sense of it all can end up in there at the moment. There seems to be a reality, and it is precisely in this scenario the danger that the protagonist, the unexpected, takes place, completely changing the course of events. You want to know how a simple one dog was able to turn that moment of terror is a story of heroism? Still with me? Because the one who comes in the following, we will show that many of the times and the loyalty of an animal, and it can be overcome, even in the violence of the criminal's arms. You'll be touched when you realize how much of an act of bravery may save a life, and how you drive in a dog, it can make all the difference. Get ready for a story that will hold your attention from beginning to end, revealing the details that you may never have heard of before. Have you ever wondered if your four-legged friends are such an important part as well in our safety and security? Stay with me. Soon, we will find out together in this story that thrills and inspires us to believe that, even in the hours that are most difficult to love, and to the courage it can take precedence. If you are touched with this story of courage and loyalty, and I want to invite you to share your opinion or any experience that you have experienced or witnessed in a similar situation. Your feedback is important, as it helps to create a true connection between all of us, as well as inspire those who also believe in the power of a pure heart. Can make all the difference. Every story, every feeling that you have to put in here aims to strengthen the community of people who appreciate the courage, the love, and the protection of our four-legged friends are able to offer. If this is the kind of content that makes sense to you, don't leave it to like the video. It helped the channel to grow and to reach more people who need it or want to hear a story that inspires hope and courage. And of course, if you want to follow up on these exciting stories, we encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Therefore, you will stay up to date with everything that lies ahead of you, always with the same real-world stories, which are full of emotion and the lessons we can bring to our lives. Your being here is what makes it such a space to exist and grow, leading to a positive message and to show that, at the time the most difficult, the love, the loyalty, and the fortitude of an animal, and it can completely transform a state of fear into a chance to help save lives. So, stay with me, because there's still so much more for you to discover and stir. That time of the invasion, it looked like a scene from a thriller, but it was the harsh reality of a family that is faced with the danger of a more serious that one can face in the house. The criminal with a gun in his hand, he had the look of a cold and determined, and his intent was clear: to intimidate, to threaten, and to be able to accomplish what you wanted, to leave no room for doubts. It came with the force, is already taking on the role of someone who's mastered the situation and making the family would cower in fear. The sound of heavy footsteps, his breathing accelerated, and the sound of the door being forced to make all of it was like a nightmare that no one can agree on. Every second dragged on, as the feeling of helplessness spread out all over there. The panic took over, and the feeling that everything would turn out right there at that moment, it was almost suffocating. At the scene of the chaos, something unexpected happened. A dog that looked just like a companion for a calm and loyal, and he realized the gravity of the situation. It may be difficult to explain exactly how he felt. The fear, the vulnerability that is in, or even the aggression of the attacker. But the fact is that your instinct of self-protection was turned on in a way that no one could have predicted. In the eyes of the dog, and if they were filled with a quiet determination, as if he would have understood that it is time to take action. It may sound like a scene from a film, but it's just as well that the power of a pet, you can immerse us in the most difficult times, revealing a heart that's a lot of humans. At times, they continue to grow. At that moment, the dog, he did not think of the consequences and not worry about his injury or the risk of facing a criminal as armed. His mission was clear, in order to protect their family, no matter what the cost. And that's just in that moment of silence, tense, that's all changed. Without warning, the dog threw himself against the intruder with a surprise. He had no time for that. The attacker would not even have to think twice. With blazing speed, he has moved on and tried with all his might that which he had to knock down the one-armed man. The impact was so strong that the burglar, caught off guard, almost fell backwards. His surprise was so great that for a few seconds he hesitated, as if he were staring into a source of strength that he could not imagine a dog's joint. The family, that moment was a mixture of relief and hope on him, which seemed to be in a situation with no way out. Of a sudden, he gained a whole new perspective. The bravery that not only turned the tide of the invasion, as it also has a light of hope in those moments of darkness. The power of the dog was so great that it even hurt in the fight. He did not flinch. Each stroke brought him. It seemed to multiply their determination to protect their space, their families, and their loved ones. Even with the fear plastered on his face, he continued to stand against the armed man, from the criminal to proceed further. The fighting was intense and full of moments, and dramatic, and each and every move seemed to be a declaration of it at the time, the truth, and to the courage it can come from where you least expect them. The emotional impact of the moment was so great that it is marked in the memory of everyone. Because many times, and it's not just the guns and violence that will determine the outcome of a risky situation, but that's the power of will, the loyalty and the love that an animal has for the one who has the care of it. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. This story is not just a story of bravery. She reveals something deeper insight into the heart and soul of our partner. What makes a dog is a true hero to many times. It goes beyond physical strength. It's a matter of connecting the reader with intuitive of what is going on around them, from a feeling that a few humans have. In this connection of the soul, of the heart, which causes the animals to become, too often, the larger the guardian that anyone could ever wish for. They seem to understand the importance of protecting their owners in a manner that is beyond any logic, any of the training condition. It is a transformation that reveals the true, hidden, love, loyalty, and courage are at the heart of those they choose to be on our side, regardless of the odds. This is a journey of courage. The dog that played against the danger for us is to reflect on the impact that a decision to protect you, to give in or fight to have our story to life. And then, when you think about it, it is unavoidable to notice that the bravery is an animal that is a life lesson. A man who at times have the greatest impact comes from the attitude of silence, the decision not to retreat in the face of fear. Because deep down, that the story, it reveals a truth that we all need to charge. What is the strength of a heart that is dedicated to? It is capable of transforming any setting to despair in a victory for the unexpected. And that, even in the face of a threat, the decision to fight, to protect, to not give up, it can be the difference between chaos and despair. This is the message that is selected in the heart of the one who knows about this kind of history. The courage, and many times is born out of an instinct for the original, but that it is able to change lives and create real examples of heroism in our daily lives. So, considering all this, it is a question of how many of these stories are still hidden in the silent, waiting for someone who is aware of the power that lies within each and every one of us, and especially amongst those who share our lives, our home, and our heart. Because in the end, what really matters is the recognition that the real transformation happens when we are able to see beyond the surface, promoting the very essence of who you are by our side, be it human or animal, and on the understanding that, in this connection, it is capable of changing everything. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the story of a dog who threw himself against an assailant, armed, leads us to reflect about the truth hidden. It is often left to go. The transformation that takes place at the very heart of who actually knows the meaning of unconditional love. It is not just a matter of valor or instinct of self-protection, but rather a decision on the daily, out of a mindset that is beyond the fear, and turns it into a powerful force that can change lives. When we think of the courage of the animal, even to the wounded, continued to fight with all our strength, we see that the impact goes far beyond the act right away. It shows the journey of 1,000 internal decision-making of a mindset which appreciates the value of which is more important, and many times you need to be awake at the times of the greatest adversity. This is about inner strength, the ability of decision-making that comes from the heart. It is the difference between an action is brief for a real transformation. The courage that you saw, that the dog was not just a response to a gut feeling, but rather a manifestation of a mindset that recognizes the importance of protecting the one you love above all else. This is a lesson that can be applied in your own routine and the way in which we tackle the obstacles of day-to-day. Many of the times we put the face of difficult choices and moments that our true power is revealed by the choices they make. That's what's important to understand, that on the back of every action, there's a mindset that can be cultivated or neglected. The courage, the determination, and the love that they move an animal to sacrifice himself for his family. The concept has been universal, that is, to be understood. It can change the way we think and act in the face of challenges. Because at the end, the impact of a conscious decision to fight for what is right, even if it means putting everything at risk, it's something that echoes in our way of life, and to shape who we are and what we want to leave a legacy. As I reflect on this story, we see that the real power lies not only in physical strength, but in the power of a mindset that understands the value of love, loyalty, and sacrifice. These qualities are often not visible to the eye, are the ones who really shape a person's or an animal. It has the ability to face any adversity. And this realization leads us to an important breakthrough, that it is the most significant change to take place in the U.S. in how we choose to deal with the situation, your willingness to act courageously, and in our ability to understand the impact that the decision may cause. Often the difference between failure and success, between fear and hope, and that is the mentality that we have adopted in the face of a challenge. And that's where that comes in the frame of this story, which shows that on the back of each and every act of courage is a journey of choices that will shape not only present, but also for the future. This is a journey of transformation, which arises out of a decision not to retreat in the face of danger, and showing us what true courage is: not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of it. And when you understand it, and we believe that the strength of a heart that is dedicated to, this is an impact that is quiet, in a revelation that can turn any scene of chaos, a story of hope. Because most of the action in a given moment, it's a mindset that needs to be cultivated, nurtured by the values that make us to look beyond the obvious. It's a lesson in that, at times, have the greatest impact comes from the decision-making, simple but full of intention, which is to protect yourself, to fight, and to never give up. And this is the testimony, which is stored behind the scenes of our journey. We are reminded what real power is in the mindset that we choose to nourish it every day. This is, of course, that's the story of a dog. It is not only a narrative of a heroic, but it's an opportunity for us to think about our own decisions and the impact they can create. Because deep down, each and every choice we make, every action we take, it reflects our way of thinking and view of the difficulties. And then, when you realize the power of a mindset which appreciates the value of love and courage, we can begin to understand that change is something that we can grow and, just like that dog, he can be the protagonists of our own stories of overcoming it. It is a day of revelations and internal, where every decision is an opportunity to strengthen the core and create impact far beyond what we can imagine. After all, it is the true. The change starts within each and every one of us, in the way we choose to look at the world and the hardships that appear along the way. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the story of a dog who threw himself against an attacker, armed, reveals a truth that hides many a times it is hidden beneath the surface of our everyday lives. The truth is that the true transformation comes from the decisions that we make in the moments of pressure, one of those moments where everything seems to be falling apart, and all we can do is act from the heart. The power of a mindset which appreciates the value of love, loyalty, and courage isn't something that appears out of nothing. Rather, it is built up over the course of time, the in powered by a small, everyday actions, by conscious choices, and a true connection with what they believe to be right. When an animal is considered by many to be just like his dogs, launches the attack with his bravery, he is, in fact, reveal the essence that is we all carry it. But we often forget to nurture the courage to protect what is most valuable. Courage is not a quality unique to the human being. A look behind the scenes of this story to show that it is at the heart of everything that lives, the ability to sacrifice for the other, in the strength to fight for something larger than even we do not understand fully why that is. As we reflect on this, we realize that the real transformation happens when we fail to understand that our choices, however small they may seem, they have an impact that reverberates in our daily life. An act of courage, no matter how simple it may be, it is a seed that can grow and transform in a state of fear and despair, in a chance of hope and renewal. The truth is that it hides many times we have to pass through. That is the power of a positive mindset, combined with a commitment to act with love, and is able to transform into any of the above scenarios the face of adversity. To immerse yourself even deeper in the universe and revelations, we were intrigued to learn that the bravery of a dog can be an inspiration to all of us. It shows us that true strength is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it with determination. And that strength is born out of a decision every day to believe that, regardless of the size of the obstacle, we can make a difference. This is a journey of transformation, which begins from within each one of us, that is held up by the small choices that, together, we create a stream from the impact of the ability to change lives. What is going on behind the scenes of this story is that of courage. A lot of times, it's one that is born in the soul, a quiet strength that manifests itself at just the right time, to reveal a profound truth, that it is the strength of a heart that is dedicated to, is able to transform into any one scene of chaos, a story of hope. This force, which many would call it an instinct or of courage in the moment, it is in fact a manifestation of a mindset which appreciates the value of unconditional love and loyalty. And this brings us to an important reflection. A transformation to a more profound is not the big gestures and isolated, but the sum of the small daily decisions that reinforce our core values and our purpose. When we understand that every choice, every action, has the potential to have an impact on our lives and the lives of those who are next to us, we begin to realize that the strength of the heart you fight for what we believe is one of the strongest forces in the world. This is a journey of revelation and reveals that, in essence, we are all capable of something more, of a heart, which goes beyond the physical and reaching the deepest part of our being. And that, to understand that power within, we begin to see the impact of our decisions, not realizing that the real power of change lies in the type of thinking that we grow. Because in the end, The transformation happens when you decide to take the next step, even if the path is uncertain, being moved upon by an invisible force, yet powerful, and that it is born in the heart and expresses itself in our courage to fight for what is right. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because this is the story of the courage and power of a mindset that emphasizes the value of love, loyalty, and decide to protect it reveals something that a lot of times remains hidden in the daily routines of life. This is the force which is born of the heart, which manifests itself at just the right time, and they are often powered by small actions every day. It is a true inner transformation. And this change, in turn, is the one that shapes our journey. What we have is understanding that, in the face of any adversity, it's our way of thinking is the most powerful weapon which you can have. When we reflect on the bravery is an animal that is even hurt in the fight, he continues to put it at the front, we see that the strength of the will is the true occult that we all have inside of us. But a lot of times, we forget to turn on. This quiet strength that is the one that pushes us forward even when fear feels bigger than it in the hope. It is the force that makes the simple decision to act in a revolution of personal influence and the impact that we have generated all around us. And it is this transformation that shows that at the core, we are all capable of something more, of a heart, which goes beyond the physical and that which is born in our minds and in our willingness to fight for our values. When you understand that it is this inner power is an everyday, we see that it is all fueled by our decisions. Our actions may have aware of the value that it really doesn't matter. Every time I choose to act with courage, even in the face of fear, and we are building this type of thinking that enables us to overcome any obstacle. These small actions that seem insignificant in the routine, and in fact, they build up a profound impact on our lives. They create a story that will strengthen our inner strength, helping us to look beyond the surface and see what is the real difference is in the decision not to flinch, not to comply with the fear of a final judgment. Many times, the strength of the will reveals itself in moments of quiet, when we have decided to protect our loved ones, even if that means putting it all in jeopardy, even though the surrounding world seems to come crashing down. This is a journey of self-discovery. Discover the power that many of the times it seems is hidden, is a real eye-opener, because it shows that the transformation doesn't just happen with the big gestures, but in the sum of small actions that enhance our way of thinking, and that can make all the difference. With the courage of a dog, that is, the same hurt, don't flinch. It's a perfect metaphor for what we can accomplish when we choose to believe in the strength you carry within you. Each of the decision-making to the fight, to protect, to move forward in the face of fear, and it reinforces that truth is hidden. That is all we have. That's true strength is born in the mind, in order to understand that even in times of difficult, I can be the protagonists of our own story. And it is this that strength, when powered by your love and loyalty, which becomes a powerful weapon capable of transforming any setting in the chaos in a story of hope and renewal. When you realize that the connection between the inner power and strength and our daily actions, we can begin to understand the true essence of transformation. It's not something that happens in an hour or so to the other one, but it's a journey to rebuild a constant, in which each reinforces our ability to overcome our fear and act with courage. The journey reveals that the real strength is not the absence of trouble, but in order to deal with them, shaking off the dust and move forward with an open heart. And if you think about all of this, it is clear that the connection between our values, our choices, and the impact of what we produce in our lives and in those we love is stronger than we could ever imagine. Because in the end, that the force which is born of the mind of consciousness is what makes us truly human and capable of turning pain into hope, fear into courage, and vulnerability is a strength that is inspirational and can save lives. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line because that is the true essence of transformation is not only reveals the courage of the moment, but in a way where every decision that we make build a mindset able to shape the whole of our journey. This is a journey often invisible to the eye, It is fed by the small actions that, when added together, they create an inner strength that no one can see it from the outside, but it is essential to overcome the obstacles that are larger than we had imagined. When we reflect on the impact of decision-making, we've realized that it's not just an isolated act, but rather a seed that, when planted, it begins to grow, a new version of ourselves. This version is more powerful, more aware, more in tune with what really matters to you. And that strength is born out of an in-depth understanding of what the change is, a construction that is a daily battle that we fight within ourselves, behind the scenes of your own story. It is from this perspective that we realize how much our actions, however small they may seem, they have a knock-on effect on our way of thinking, and, as a consequence, in the way that we face all the challenges. Many of the times we believe that you will need for a great deal, or in the event of extraordinary, to move. But the truth is concealed. This is the point where you start in how we choose to react to what is happening to us. These small choices that seem to be a simple routine that, in fact, it reinforces our ability to withstand the fear and to keep the focus on and to keep going even when everything seems to be falling apart. Each and every decision, act up to protect what we believe in, not to retreat in the face of danger, it is a critical piece in the puzzle that is our journey of self-discovery. And this is the part, when installed correctly, it builds a mindset strong, capable of transforming any setting in the crisis into an opportunity for growth. When you get dunked on these findings, it is clear that the power of a positive mindset is a powerful weapon, one that often remains hidden beneath the surface of our daily lives. A weapon that only reveals its true power when we face times of hardship. Because it is at this moment that is our true essence comes out, and you can see that the conversion is not dependent on external factors, but it's our desire to cultivate a mentality that is resilient, to believe that we are able to overcome anything. This understanding leads us to consider more deeply. What is the real change happens when we don't just react to the environment, but also to shape our own opinions? And this is only possible if we nurture a mindset of courage, hope, and determination. It strengthens each made a conscious decision to not give in to fear, but to confront the difficulties with an open heart and mind and focus on what we aim to achieve. The difficulties appear huge, for this journey of transformation tells us that the most profound impact is in the way you internalize our experiences with you. Each and every small act of courage, each of the following in front of you, it reinforces this idea that we're able to go above and beyond what we had imagined. Because in the end, the real power is not in what the world throws at you, but in our ability to choose who we want to be in front of him. This choice, this decision to keep the hope alive, is that it builds up a resistance to the invisible but powerful, and is able to sustain us through the most difficult times. And by understanding this connection, we believe that the most lasting impact on the one who comes from the outside but is born from within, out of our desire to grow, to learn, and above all, to believe that we can be involved in a heartwarming story. Such an understanding reveals that the real change is the mindset that we grow in the way we choose to see each and every day, each and every obstacle. It is not a matter of perfection, but the persistence of a routine, the little choices that, over time, build up an inner force that could overcome any adversity. When we can see beyond the fear, we realize that each and every decision, act with courage, it is a seed of hope. A spark that can ignite a flame, the largest in our history. And it is precisely this degree of consistency in decision-making of don't give up. Keep your heart open to the love and the loyalty that defines our true strength. Thus, each and every step is taken with a conscience. This is an opportunity to strengthen the mindset of the transformation, to build a solid foundation so that, at the time, the most difficult, and we may act on it with all the courage that you have learned to develop along the way. And in doing so, we notice that the real change is not a one-off event, but it is a solid construction. One day only becomes stronger when we invest in our own development, the day-to-day. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the story of a mindset, and the impact it reveals a truth that hides that very few people actually stop to think about. The transformation of what we are looking for in many times, it is not in great deeds or at the time of the crisis, but in the way we choose to see the small decisions of each day. These decisions are the seeds that are invisible. That is, when it's planted with a conscience, they begin to cultivate an inner strength that is able to sustain us through the most difficult times. It is as if, for the back of every action, there is a kind of cabinet of mind where everything takes place there, and the choices we make shape who we are and the impact we can make in our own history. After all, it really does make a difference. It's not just what happens on the outside, but what's going on inside of us, in our minds, and in our willingness to respond with courage, determination, and hope. When we understand that true transformation comes from this kind of procedure, we begin to realize that each and every decision, act with courage, it is a statement of what we believe about our ability to change, to grow, and develop, and to overcome the obstacles. Many people believe that you need the perfect opportunity, the resources, the infinite, or of an ideal world in order to feel ready to take a step in the direction of the growth. But the biggest revelation is that the real impact happens in the moment in which we decide to act, even though the fear is still present. This is the essence of the day. Learn to make every moment of the questions as an opportunity for strengthening the claim that we can be better, stronger, and more aware of it. The power of a mindset which appreciates the value of the growth, love, loyalty, and courage is what allows you to move forward, even when everything seems to be conspiring against you. In this connection, one of our decisions, and their impact on our lives, is one of the biggest revelations of what we can do for ourselves. Because in the real world, all the things that we've cultivated in your mind is reflected in our attitude, in our trust and confidence in our ability to withstand the adversities of life. The small actions that often seem insignificant, they are, in fact, the building blocks of the spirit, the solid and strong. They teach us not to give up, to keep fighting, to keep hope alive even in the face of this apparent defeat. When we have learned the value of this process, we realized that the true power lies in our ability to make meaningful choices and nurture positive thoughts, and you believe that you are able to turn any negative impact on the opportunity for growth. After all, this is the essence of the journey for those who seek evolution. Making sense of the real impact comes from within, from our willingness to change our minds, to accept that each and every step of courage is a seed that can flourish into something more. Thinking this way helps us to understand that the key is not to wait for the perfect time, but in a way that every moment is an opportunity to strengthen the power inside of you. Each of the decision-making of the act of love, to protect what's important, to fight for our values, and it's a way of enhancing our minds that we can make a difference. Over time, this practice becomes a routine. It's a kind of shield that protects us from doubt, fear, and hardship. And in the process, we discover that the journey of transformation is about what's going on inside of us, of what is going on around us. Because it is our way of thinking, you're a true power, capable of driving profound changes in the sustainable and long-lasting. And once you understand this, you begin to see what the impact is more powerful. It is not the one that comes out of it, but that's what we grow house, with a decision to believe that there is always a chance to start over, to grow, and to make a difference, regardless of the setting. This is the truth hidden. That is, when it has been revealed, and it gives us the strength to move forward, aware of the fact that change begins in our minds, and that is each and every small step in the direction of growth is a seed of hope that, one day, it may blossom into something great. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because this is a journey of transformation, and building the mindset is something that very few actually stop to think about. A lot of people live in the belief that the impact of what they can generate in our own lives depend on outside circumstances in such a way or to the same factors which are outside of our control. But the truth is hidden. The revelation that a lot of times it is hidden beneath the surface of our everyday actions. The power of change is in how we choose to bring all of our experiences. Every thought, every decision is a conscious act of courage. It is a seed that, when planted closely, it begins to take root deep within your own mind. And those roots are what hold the whole of our journey of growth. It is as if, for the back of every action, there is a rack in the invisible place where everything is, with a built-in space where the choices we make shape who we are and who we can become. In this connection, one of our decisions and their impact on our lives, it reveals a powerful truth. The real change is not something that happens from the outside in, but from the inside to the outside. As we come to understand that our way of thinking is the one that actually determines the course of our history, we begin to realize that each and every tiny step of courage, of hope and resilience is a key component in the construction of a new version of ourselves. These small stalks, often seen as slight, to nurture a mindset of strength that can withstand the storms, are more frequent and more intense. Because you are, in essence, it all comes down to the decision of believing in one's ability to overcome obstacles, learn from your mistakes, and move forward with renewed confidence. Thus, the transformation is no longer something far away or out of reach, making it a natural extension of the mindset or cultivated with care, attention, and intention. As we reflect on these findings, we realize that the true power is not to prevent people from fear, but to learn how to act in spite of it. And it is this action that is born of the Spirit is strengthened, that is, the difference between those who just want a change of who is really in the conquest. Each of the decision-making to get up after a crash, to continue in view of the difficulties of keeping the hope alive, even when everything seems to come crashing down, it's a testament to the impact, the more durable it happens in our own heart. It's in our heads and in our willingness to believe that we could rewrite our story. Everything begins to change. Because deep down, that this is the true, hidden. It is the most profound impact. The one that actually changes people's lives starts in the mind, in the way that we interpret our experiences, and in the actions that we took from one of them. We realize that this is a journey of self-discovery, is an ongoing construction work of the internal forces, a routine, the daily choices that strengthen our ability to withstand the adversities of life. It is not a matter of perfection, but about self-discipline. Each of the decision to put a heart on the front, to act with love and courage, it is a statement of what we are capable of shaping our own destiny. And to the extent that the strength of this mindset, she has become a real weapon in the transformation. With a gun, they are silent. They do not make noise, but that is gradually shaping of our minds, creating a strong foundation so that in difficult moments, we can look within and find that there's a force that had always been hidden from view. This is the strength that arises from the mind's conscious. It's the one that makes all the difference between a life of action and go on a journey of salvation. Because when you understand that the impact of the most powerful is the one that comes from within, we begin to realize that decision-making for the courage, as small as it may seem, it is a seed of hope, can bloom into something much greater. And with this understanding, when it really becomes a part of who we are and gives us the assurance that our transformation is that it happens not only in our own heads, in our minds, and that this change is able to influence all areas of your life. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation that you are looking for is not something that happens out of the way to the surface, or only at times of crisis. It is born of a deeper understanding, a view that goes above and beyond what our eyes can see on the surface of our everyday actions. This view reveals the truth hidden in the much more long-lasting and true it is in the power of our minds, in the way we internalize our experiences and the choices we make along the way. A lot of people live in the belief that the success or change, it depends on external factors, such as in such a way or environment. But the big reveal is that it all begins within ourselves and in how we choose to interpret and respond to what is happening to us. It's as if there's a rack, invisibly, where the whole of a building, the strength and resilience of the case. This rack is powered by a small choices each day for each and every decision to keep a positive outlook, but believe that we are able to develop even when everything seems to come crashing down. Such little actions, which appear to be so simple in fact, are the seeds of a far more profound impact on our way of processing. When you understand that real change comes from within, we realize that each and every decision act with courage, hope, and determination, as it is a very important part in the process of building a mindset of the strong. There is no need to wait for the perfect circumstances or for a moment of inspiration to make up the difference. What makes the difference is the approach that we have adopted in the face of obstacles. Every time we choose to respond in faith, even in fear, we are strengthening our ability to withstand the storms, the internal and the external. This is the strength that is born of our decision-making, is that you can move forward with confidence, even when the evidence seems to indicate that it's the second one. For of a truth, the victory is not in the absence of fear, but the courage to continue, to persevere, to believe that the greatest impact is in the way you internalize all the things that are challenging us. It is this mindset that makes you capable of transforming any setting in defeat as an opportunity for growth, learning, and empowerment. When you reflect on it more deeply, we realize that this journey of transformation, it is made up of small victories, built in. Each made a conscious decision not to give in to the doubt or negative feelings. These victories are built in, as it is a quiet strength that builds up over time, and which, when well grown, it becomes a real weapon for the resistance. This weapon is invisible to us. You guarantee that even in the face of adversity, more frequent and more intense, that we can keep the hope and the determination to move forward. And the beauty is that this power is born out of one simple, yet powerful. It's our greatest influence is in the mentality that we've built up over time, in the way that we can understand what's going on our willingness to learn and develop. The more you eat this growth mindset, the more strong you become to the face of any challenge, knowing that the most significant impact comes not from outside forces, but to our ability to make our own history from the inside out. And this realization leads us to consider essential. The revolution in personal thing happens when we learned how to add value to their decision-making act of love, courage, and hope. These small actions, repeated over time, they form a powerful chain that can transform our lives and the impact we can have on the world around us. It's as if, instead of waiting for the big events or to changes in external and start creating a new reality, the choice is inside. And in doing so, we find that the strength of long-lasting comes in a mindset that believes in your ability to start over, to reinvent yourself and move forward even in the most difficult moments. This is the force which is born of the interior, is capable of creating a silent revolution, which manifests itself in the way that we are faced with the day-to-day challenges, the losses, but also to win. And as much as we have this idea of the impacts, the clearer it becomes that the greatest change is in how we choose to see it and cherish each and every step of the way, however small they may seem to you, because you have everything together and build a new version of ourselves. If you've come this far, it's because I really connected with this story of the courage, the strength that comes from within, and how our everyday decisions shape who we are. This discussion shows that even in the most difficult moments, we can choose to react in a way that will strengthen our minds and make us more resilient. Maybe it's a reminder of a smooth and a real change happening in the way we think and act, and that every little step counts to make a story stronger and more self-aware. If this message has touched you in some way, leave it here in the comments that I'm with you till the end. Your opinion is very important, and it helps to create a community where we all learn from and inspire each other. If you're enjoying the content, here is a tip: if you sign up for the channel. So, you can follow more stories that show the power of love, courage, and determination, all with a freshness of approach, and it is true. Our goal is to bring you ideas that are meaningful, and it will help you to understand the potential that lies within you. If you would like to continue this conversation, there's a video right here on the side, which complements this subject. You can click and keeps me there. I'm pretty sure that you will love to learn these ideas. After all, this place is for you to get inspired, to think, and strengthen the things that are most important to the story of his own. Thank you for being here until now. I hope to see you in the next video, where we are going together to find more ways of looking at the power that lies within each and every one.